guys, welcome to Experience, the show where I, Indy Saggu, and my film crew take you from the largest expos to the smallest local outings and ask and answer one simple question: is it worth the experience? Today we're at the Steampunk Victoriana Fair here at the Goulburn Waterworks. Tickets are $5 for adults, $2 for kids, but today we're here as media. Is the Steampunk Victoriana Fair worth the experience? Let's find out. Right guys, I'm with the organiser of this terrific event, Julianne. How are you doing, Julianne?
I'm doing well, Indy. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you very much. I'm loving the event. It's brilliant, the weather's beautiful, the exhibits alone are crazy. They're just really, really cool.
Yeah.
How are you finding today?
I'm really, really happy with today. The weather has been very kind to us, so that does help with numbers. But the event has doubled in size since last year. We've just had so much interest. People have contacted me that are into the steampunk genre. We want to be involved. And people have come from as far as Cairns. Yeah, so, and of course we had Tara Moss this year, so, because she's very much into steampunk. So that was a very special guest appearance. Yeah, so very happy with the day.
So Julianne, your own connection with steampunk, when did that start?
I first discovered steampunk when I visited a waterworks similar to this in London, and I noticed that they'd had a steampunk ball, and I got to look around at the images and I thought, I can do that at our waterworks. So that's where the idea came from, and we had our first event 3 years ago which attracted 250 people, and we had about 3 market stalls, a bit of music. And now today, I think we've had 1,500 people today, 30 market stalls. So people have just really got into it.
Fantastic. Yeah. It's good to hear as well. And the choice of Goulburn, was it like, you work for the council?
Yes, I do. So the Waterworks is owned by Goulburn Mulwaree Council, and I'm employed by the council. My job is to manage the waterworks. So it's my job. Fantastic job.
I thought, why not here? Basically?
Why not here? Perfect. Got steam engines, Victoriana. Yeah.
It's such a picturesque.
And on the Wallandilly River. It's just beautiful.
Yeah. Like, it's one of those things, we just got to be there to see it. One of those things. So your own costume today, have you? How long did it take to think of this beautiful?
It took me as long as it did to click buy that on eBay. That's it. That's the honest truth.
Why not? Why not? That's good.
So it's just a collaboration of purchases.
So would you say, steampunk in the future in Goulburn, looks like there's only one way up now?
Yeah, so I think so. This venue does have its limitations. As you can see, it's pretty much capacity at now. So next year I have to put my thinking cap on about how we're going to manage it, because I've already had people approach me that they want to be involved again, more new people. So so have to have a think about how we're going to manage it, but my aim is Steampunk Capital of Australia. That is my plan.
Brilliant. And we've also heard that this might be the sort of the ending of the events schedule of the year.
Yes, I have heard that could be the case, which I'm very happy to be part of that.
Like I said, it really is good to see a whole variety of food vendors.
Yep.
And just the amount of people are just so kind to help you out as well.
And people, they ring me. We want to be involved. So, and the markets have come from all over the state. Yeah, local food and wine, but markets from all over the place.
That is brilliant. Anyway, Julianne, we hope to come back here next year.
Thank you very
much. We hope it gets bigger and bigger every time we see it.
Thank you. Can I just say one thing? I wanted to thank the Waterworks is largely looked after by volunteers. They look after the grounds and the engines and the gardens, and I just wanted to thank them because without them we wouldn't have what we've got.
Of course, exactly. And it looks like it's still functioning to a certain degree, isn't it?
Operational.
There you go.
Yes,
there
absolutely.
Fantastic.
Yep.
Looks like, so it wasn't for the time taking the time out to see it
and
fix
have what
it.
we've got.
Brilliant. Anyway,
Yep.
thank you very much, Julianne,
Thank you,
and
Indy.
we just hope it gets bigger and better.
Thank you.
Guys, we're up and close with the metal guy. How you doing, sir? You alright?
Yeah, I'm good.
That's good. So, enjoying your day today at the Victoriana Steampunk Fair?
This has been really surprisingly fun, actually. Like, I wasn't expecting so many costumes. I wasn't expecting so much interest. I wasn't expecting so much variety. What I love about steampunk, and I've always wanted to make an outfit, so now I finally got an excuse to make one.
Brilliant, yeah.
So yeah, I think the thing that is attractive about steampunk is there's rules, but there's really not rules. Like you don't have to conform to a rigid kind of set of design rules. You can just make a lot of it up, and you've got so many different areas to reference. You know, you can go full steam, you can go military, you can go, you know, kind of goth, whatever you want really. So it's
Or dinosaurs as well.
or dinosaurs, yeah, or a big fox. in a steampunk costume.
Sky's the limit.
Did you see the sheep? There's a sheep wearing goggles. Only in a Goulburn steampunk festival.
It doesn't just go to one species, it's multifaceted.
Truly,
Well,
truly unilateral.
it's open to all, isn't it? Well, okay, well, you're the metal guy.
Yes.
So what made you first get into doing all things metal?
I've always been creative. It comes out of me no matter what I'm doing. I've done music before. I retrained as a mechanic, and about halfway through that training, I had to disassemble an automatic gearbox. Ended up with 1 billion really cool parts from that, and I already knew how to weld. I thought, hey, why don't I make a wall hanging out of this stuff? And it turned out so well that I just kept on going, basically. And it was kind of a skill I didn't really know I had. And then I started doing the figurines, then I started doing animals and custom work, and then the bikes came along. Then the lamps came along, and so it's just been continually expanding. I'm quite surprised that it's been so successful. Thing is, I wasn't doing it 3 years ago, and now here I am.
Now it's everywhere now. So do you remember your first ever creation that you made? And what was
Yes, it was a very crude standing figure with a tin plate as a shield and a beater from a mixer raised as a club over the top of its head, just like waiting to belt someone's brains out. And that was a proof of concept to see if I could make a humanish figure with cutlery, which obviously you can if you think carefully about it. And so from there, it just morphed and developed until now. I'm doing the lamps quite successfully. I've been asked to do a few large builds, collaborations with people, transforming some objects by converting them into lamps. So it's really freeing. I get asked to do such a wide, eclectic range of jobs. So yeah, it's good.
Do you have an example of the most weirdest thing you've been asked to do?
The weirdest thing?
Like the most out of the, you wouldn't even think of it.
I got asked to make a pentagram for a front door with flowers and vines and leaves woven through it to make it look pretty. And on the inside, I'm kind of thinking, maybe you haven't quite grasped the idea of a pentagram. This is not meant to be a flowery object. You know, this is not meant to be nice. It's meant to be a pentagram and threatening, to my mind anyway. So that was weird. I got asked to do an armadillo mother and child for a guy that collects armadillos. So you get
all sorts.
Yes.
Wow.
But that's part of my appeal as well, because I have a very powerful kind of ace up my sleeve. I can say to somebody, you know, you tell me what you want or what your uncle likes or what your child likes, and I'll customize it for you. Wow, okay. So it's, you know, people don't just have to come and select something off the table. I can say to them, all of a sudden their mind opens up, because they'll think, oh, you know, I can say to you, you know, I'd like an Egyptian cat firing a machine gun, and you know, we've got a chance of actually making that happen. Yes, well, I'll have a crack at it. So
that's it. Yeah.
So I've done a lot of really interesting custom builds that way, because people have said, you know, it's Auntie Jenny's birthday next month. She used to fly planes, and we don't know what to get her for her 60th. And I'll say, well, have you thought about ... And then that starts a whole creative conversation, which I really enjoy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Metal Guy, is there anything you wouldn't do? Is there anything that you sort of, nope, that's it, nope?
People have asked me to do very detailed, descriptive work for not enough money. So I say no straight away. And people have asked me to do objects that are really smooth and finished and really refined, when the materials I'm working with, being scrap, don't really lend themselves to perfection. Like, someone asked me to do a model of a DC-3 army plane, and I said to them, well, I could do it, but it's not going to be smooth. It's going to be made out of bits and pieces of crap and cutlery, so maybe you should rethink. So every now and then I'll say, no, that probably might not fit my style, but more often than not, I'll have a crack at least. And usually on the day I can tell the person if it's going to fly or not. basically.
So for some of the sort of the usual things that you make, how long does it take from conception all the way till the product?
Including prep time for something I've made before, I can do an owl in about 10 minutes. Like some of the more complicated bikes might take a day, day and a half. If I've prepped all the parts for like the little scorpions, for example, it takes me about 2 minutes per scorpion.
Wow, and they're just here, these ones here?
Yeah. So if I've already prepared the parts, that's an automatic process now.
So do you think about like, okay, well, what am I going to use, or do you just whatever's there, you just sort of make use of what's there?
My mind's a bit weird. If I've successfully used something to make a particular object, I have a database kind of in my mind of what worked, and then I'll go straight back to that material again because I know that I can successfully make the object. If I'm doing a custom build of something I've never done before, I've got to go slower because I've got to work out as I go what's actually going to work. But you know, if I've done a Ned Kelly, my brain stores Ned Kelly pattern and the pieces that are used to make Ned Kelly, and then anytime I want to do one,
It's already there.
yeah, it's the whole design is already there. So yeah, it's nice. The database is always expanding.
And it looks as though like pretty much you can do anything really, like just within its own sort of limits as well.
Yeah, within certain limits, but I haven't really said no to many commissions yet, which is nice. The only ones I've said no to were where I didn't feel my skill was up to the challenge, or, as I said, where the materials just aren't going to look, they're not going to look good. You know, they're not going to look, or I'm going to be unhappy with the finished product. You know, and if I know I'm going to be unhappy with the finished product, I'll never agree to it. I'll say no, can't do it.
That was great, and then again, you're the one that's making it, so you should be comfortable with what you're doing.
It's a fine line. You don't like to disappoint people, but I don't think, creatively, I don't think it's healthy to be in a frustrated place where you feel like you're not doing the best that you can do, because that's not really pro as well. You're pushing out work that's substandard. So yeah, I don't agree with just putting something out that you're not happy with. Yeah.
Anyway, Mel guy, thank you very much for your time, and I'll definitely pick up one of these as well. Cheers.
No worries, man. Thank you.
We have members of the National Military Reenactment Group, and we're here with Victor, Ross and John. How are you guys doing?
Good, great.
But can you tell the world, what do you guys do and why do you do it?
One of the main things that we do is like living history, so history read education.
Okay.
So the primary focus we do is the military history, so things like the Napoleonic era, First World War, Second World War, Boer War, and in a way of, instead of just Hollywood running around shooting things, though we do that, it's all more of the education side. So we do proper rifle drill, we do proper first aid treatments, that kind of thing. We have a medical staff who comprises of actual nurses and doctors, who then will go and reprise their previous vocations, and talk about the differences between modern healthcare and healthcare during the wars, where a simple injury could result in amputation in one impression and then full actual treatment in a later period, that kind of thing. So that's the main thing we do. We do a lot of events for heritage groups. So the Highland Regiment, which is the 42nd, which we are patroning as part of, does a lot of the Highland games, those kind of things. We also do things like the Anzac Day March and Reserve Forces Day and things like that. I'm part of the Department of Veteran Affairs, not on behalf of, we go there as their guest, that kind of thing.
Closing ceremonies,
we do a lot of wreath laying ceremonies, places like at the War Memorial, and one of the many living history groups that do all kinds of the history alive events.
So it's not sugar-coated in any sort of way. It's actually the nitty-gritty of what they would have gone through back in the day.
Yes, like we can start the morning with how they trained for the war, and then by the end of the day we'll show you exactly how the war was fought. So the guys show how to do bayonet drill and things like that, and by the end of the day they're attacking a fixed position.
Wow. So individually, Victor, how did you first get started in doing all this?
I sort of came to it indirectly. I was I put my name forward to sort of help out at a demonstration that they were short-handed for. There was an appeal put out, and I thought, yes, that might be interesting to try. What can it hurt? Just try it once, and got a liking for it.
Fantastic. And today you're dressed in a naval regalia there.
That's right.
Could you explain? Is there any specifics that what makes your outfit today special, or?
Actually, naval uniform doesn't change very much over time. Probably the main distinguishing features of what I'm wearing today compared to what's worn in the modern day Navy are the white gaiters here. Those were discontinued in the 1950s. Also the badge I have on my shoulder here, which is a signaller's badge, that's subtly different as well. The main difference is that while this style of uniform, with the exceptions I've just noted, is still worn, nowadays it's for ceremonial purposes only. So it's worn for formal parades and so forth, and the working dress is different. Back in those times, World War I and before, so this was the same thing that sailors wore for everyday duty.
Fantastic.
Which could be pretty difficult when they were going through evolutions that they had to back then, like loading coal. So black coal, white uniforms, you could get pretty filthy after a while. And they would have actually had two sets of uniforms, one for the rough work and sort of one that they could keep cleaner.
Fantastic. And so Ross, yourself, you've taken a much more sort of liberal, I guess, pop culture reference for your uniform today. So tell us a little bit about that.
I wear many hats, as opposed to also being part of the National Military Reenactment Group. I'm also one of the founding members of the Australian sub-chapters of the Starfleet Fan Club. So obviously steampunk, so this is a very steampunk incarnation of that. So one of the many hats that I do wear. I jump between living history and just straight up pop culture references.
It looks brilliant. Yeah. Wow.
It's pretty much, there's not much really to go about it. It's one of those lovely, pop culture fan club, personas where you just go and you get dressed up with the rest of your fellow fans, and you discuss things and you have fun while you're doing it.
Why not? And John, lastly, yourself, I think you're the most out of the many costumes we've seen today, military-wise, you're the most striking, of course, because you've got the ostrich feather as well. What sort of inspired you to be who you are today?
Well, I'm part of the 42nd Royal Highland Regiment Australia, 1815. So that's when the British forces fought Napoleon at Waterloo. And with this impression today I've got, it's essentially a mix of all military equipment from essentially 1815 right through to the 19th century.
Fantastic. So just collectively, do you know if any of your own family had fought in wars previously, or?
I had a lot of family serve. I have I've had great grandfathers and great uncles serve in the First World War, and one of them actually re-enlisted to serve during the Second World War, and he actually served, luckily enough, as garrison forces in Australia during the Second World War, and my grandfather was in Vietnam. On my grandfather's side, we've actually had ties right back through the Dutch resistance during World War II and other sort of places.
That's incredible, yeah.
I've had only really the two. Unfortunately, my family has been essential services, so carpenters and electricians and plumbers, people that back in the First and Second World Wars would have been ineligible for military service because they were required for the home front. But I have had two great uncles who served in the First World War. They both participated in the Battle of Pozières and Fromelles. So they're actually, which are recently centenaries.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Just I think the last 2-3 years ago, yeah.
The centenary of them was July.
Still very important. And Victor, would you happen to know if you have any family that were once in war? Or?
On one side of the family, I have an ancestor who's fought in Spain against Napoleon. Quite possibly against another relative on the other side of my family who would have been on the French side. Also, more distant relative was killed in 1917 during the First World War. And so my grandfather was involved in 3 different wars in his time, sometimes on different sides due to the changes of borders that happened in Europe in the 20th century.
Wow. So would you say, given this history, this rich history of your own families, would you say that sort of, either directly or indirectly, would you say that sort of influenced you guys to do this now?
I've always admired what my family have done and got a strong interest in military history, and myself, like I am a military member myself. I serve, following the family trade.
Well, gentlemen, thank you very much for your time, and we'll hope to see some more demonstrations later on. Fantastic, take care. Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, that was the Steampunk Victoriana Fair here in Goulburn. Was it worth the experience? Well, this event is smaller than what we're used to, but it's extremely relaxing, it was very scenic, and the people were a joy to be around. There's a large variety of food, and coupled with the low ticket prices, it made for a great day out for the whole family to enjoy. So was it worth the experience? Absolutely. It was great to see the community come together and make the steampunk event a big success. We can't wait to see what they'll do next year. On that note, we'll see you for the next experience. Cheers. Need a bit more, a bit more cheese.
There's plenty
Absolutely.
There's going to be plenty of cheese in the last line.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.